Good morning, good morning, good morning. Happy Monday morning. This is Coffee with Campus Consultancy, episode number 16. And this morning we're joined by the wonderful Julian.
Good to join you. How you doing, Josh?
Good, mate. Let's get into it. How you doing this morning, my friend?
I'm doing good. Monday morning. Let's do it.
It's good. It's good. How do you think about Monday mornings? When you wake up, are you one of those, I've got to appreciate everything about the week? Or are you like, well, it's just a Monday. It's just another old day. Let's get on with it. Or
I'm better at the Monday than the morning. Like, I like my job. I like my work. I like starting it, but I'm definitely a night owl. Like, I'm quite comfortable to be clicking on a computer at 2 a.m. more so than I am getting up at 6, 7, to launch a day.
Yeah. And what are some of the fun things that when you are night owling away, like what is Julian O'Shea working on in 2020 as the world is where the world is?
The world is. So I am an educator. I teach at the University of Melbourne, but I also run my own business called Unbound. And we lead a lot of international education and innovation projects. Now, of course, in the current context, the travel part has all been cut out. So where I would often be running planning right now a study tour to Vietnam for July. That's, of course, been put on hold. So It's been a beautiful chance to kind of explore the innovation side. So I'm building some sustainable technologies. That's my current project of the moment.
Mm-hmm. And sustainable technologies, and around what we want to talk about today, about how we make things fun and engaging. Yeah. Sustainable technologies are something that I think sometimes we hear a lot about. And if there's a little bit of like, we should do it. But from all my conversations with you, it's not just a we should do it. It's like, this is exciting and different and fun and leads to adventures, not just solar panels on roofs. So how did you find the fun in sustainability?
Look, I think when we talk about sustainability, you're right that a lot of times it gets, thought about as either an issue that's kind of wonkish or very technical, or sometimes when it comes to like the climate change debate in Australia, it's quite conflicting. People have different arguments and whatever. So I'm really interested in projects that kind of welcome everyone in. So right now I'm building a solar powered kick scooter. So for the viewers in some countries and some cities like Adelaide and Brisbane, those electric scooters that you see on the streets, I'm converting one of them into a solar powered one. So you never have to plug it into the wall. And look, that's just a lot of fun. Kids love them, adults love them. Solar panels are incredibly popular in Australia across the whole country. So merging this stuff to what people do find interesting, gets people excited about the project. And that's how you make projects work.
I love it. Of all the projects you've worked on, which one do you think you had the most fun with?
Fun. I think it has to be the solar tuk-tuk. So the story behind that is I was leading one of our study tours in Thailand, and anyone that's been to Thailand just knows how much fun it is to zip around the back streets of Bangkok in a tuk-tuk. So that's kind of what started the thinking and the idea. Well, what if Australia had one of these? Is that possible? Could we do it? And if so, how would we make it sustainable? So that was a project that I worked on, building an electric tuk-tuk, fitting it out with solar panels, and going on an adventure with it. There's Very me. Nice. There's my tuk-tuk.
There's you and your tuk-tuk. And in fact, if you needn't Google Julian O'Shea tuk-tuk, you just need to Google solar tuk-tuk, and not only you hit number 1, you didn't get number 3 spot with this lovely star 8 green, but you did get hit number 5.
It kind of shows how rare and unique it is. That yep.
There it is.
There's not many of them out there.
I love it. So we need to bring two concepts together here, I think. And if you're listening, if you're joining, welcome this morning. It's great to see you here. Jerry, Christine in the comments, lovely to see you joining us. If you are listening in, we'd love to know, what do you think? What is the role of fun in education? Is education serious and fun should be on the weekends? Is there a healthy blend? Is it too much to try to design it in? Should we just let people have fun? What do you think? Let us know. Jump in the comments. Do you enjoy education? Are you enjoying education? Where do you think the role of fun fits? But for Mr. Julian, while we've got you here, we can have a lot of fun and we can learn a lot of things. And how do these two concepts start to blend together? And you can attack that question any way you like, any way whatsoever. But where does education and fun, where do they come together?
Look, I think when people hear the word fun, they think of silliness and fairy floss and bouncy castles. Which is fun. Which is which is, not a bad perspective. But I think what fun really is around is engaging and doing what you want, that you get personal fulfillment for. And now that I think has a massive role. So look, the way you can do it in education quite simply is, rather than the educator and the tutor and the teacher be the person who's prescribing exactly what to do, if they kind of say, look, these are the outcomes that we want, and then people can follow their own passions and interests, they're going to enjoy it more. And, when I run courses, that's a bit of the advice that I often give, that if you're finding that this feels like a lot of work, that your hours you're spending doing researching is a bit of a slog to get to this endpoint, maybe you've picked your project wrong. Whereas I'm happy to spend, till 2 a.m. designing weird designs for solar-powered vehicles. And that's something I actually really enjoy. So you learn while you're doing it, but just trying to find the intersection between what you love to do and where you can learn from it.
I love it. And if students or educators, program designers, college leaders, faculty advisors are out there and they're thinking, okay, well, how do we help students figure out what they love to do if they've maybe graduated university, made more or less one very major decision of like accounting or civil engineering, and as both engineers that have now left the path somewhat blending back in, where does that role of an educator coming in and helping to facilitate someone to explore a bunch of different things until they figure out what it is that they do like? How can that work?
Well, I think that's a good point, that this idea of like, do something you love. It's very easy advice to give, but a lot of people don't know. And how can you know if you haven't done the activity? That things that may sound good, maybe on a day-to-day level, not great alignment. Everyone loves the idea of going to the Olympics and standing on a podium. I'm sure that's a great moment. But, the realities of getting there every day is getting up at 6 a.m. and spending 8 hours a day training in a gym. So maybe you start to, head down that path and realize, wait up, that's not for me. That could be much smaller sense around what types of jobs you work in, what types of career you're interested in. So I think the answer is just try lots of things. So for educators, what you can do there is just come up with programs and initiatives which let students do that. Let them speak in front of an audience, let them work with different community groups, let them travel and see different roles and just meet with as many people as possible. So these things stop being theoretical and start to become real as fast as they can.
I love that. One of the things I've loved with the social enterprise course that we're both involved in, and I've had an absolute pleasure since being involved with that with you. One, definitely doing it alongside you and seeing how much you bring that into the classroom, even ideas of like getting people up and moving and going from like really silly, fun things to like very serious things, and sort of juxtaposing the two. It's something I've really learned from being around you. But I wonder where the role is there for students of a lot of the questions we're asking them, we don't know the answers to. And we're sort of saying, you could pick any, like go UN SDGs, there's a whole bunch of them. Like, we don't know how to get there. We might know vaguely kind of what we're aiming at, but we actually have no idea what the path looks like or even what the project looks like. Yeah. So where do you think the idea of autonomy and students like sort of choosing their own adventure comes into that learning experience?
Well, I think that when people find something that they care about, it's something they often know about. That's how they care about it. They spend lots of time on it. And some of the examples that I've seen from those courses that have really blown me away are when people have found an issue that they think is real because they've experienced it themselves. So this year in our course, we had some guest speakers come in, and their organization is well worth checking out. It's called Good Intentions, with a bit of a pun on the word tent there. And it was two women who love going to music festivals in Victoria. So they would go to these events and they would have a great time because, that's what they want to do with their life. But on the way out, they realized there were just dozens and dozens and dozens of abandoned tents because people need a place to camp. They didn't own good quality tents. They didn't want them. So they would buy cheap ones. They'd use them and they'd abandon them when they left. So they said, wait up, there's a gap here. This is not good for the environment. But there's also an opportunity that these people don't want to own a tent. They just want to use one for the weekend. And that led them to create a social enterprise which cuts down on waste, but is also an opportunity. And that's a business that I would never come up with. That's not my scene. But for them, it's just this perfect mix of the things they care about and their passions and hobbies.
I love that. When you think about, I don't know, maybe you do have a bit of an assumption here, but when you're looking at all the options in front of you, all the things you could do, and it comes to maybe the end of a project, you've gone through something, you've had a lot of fun, you've learned a whole bunch of things. when it comes to choosing the next thing, do you have any sort of process that you go through? Is it a pros and cons list? Is it where am I going to learn the most? Where am I going to have the most fun? A 60-40, 70-30? Is there any way that you think about weighing it up, or is it a bit more gut feeling? I can only imagine you could solar power lots of things.
Yeah.
So how do you decide what to solar power next?
I love projects, Josh. I always love
a
project. And one of the neat things is after, like, this is a bit of a muscle, like bringing new things into the world. That's why I encourage people to just start making stuff. It could be a, Game of Thrones themed barbecue that you hold with your friends, and then they might like it. And then you just start really, really small, doing things for your own world. And then over time, you just get good at running an event or running an activity. So after a while, you have more ideas than you could do for your entire life. And that's where I am now. So fortunately, I often don't have to make some trade-offs, that I don't do projects that I'm not personally interested in at all anymore. There are a lot of brilliant projects out there that don't align with my skills, but there's enough that do. So look, there's no draw a spreadsheet system as much as there is understanding what it would take to bring it to life. Like, this is something you have to spend weeks on full time, or you can do an hour or two a week and you'll get to a great point. I found the ones that stick with you. So, these people that have an idea in the shower, often the idea's gone by the time they've dried off. But the ones that are going to stick with you for days and weeks are the ones that make me go, I really should revisit that. That's something that I'm kind of drawn to.
Yeah. Interesting in that idea of, if you are really drawn to something, but I guess where I like to see a lot of opportunity is really honestly being on campus, as I know you are as well, virtually or in person, with so many students who, if you were to give them an emoji ranking from happiest emoji with tears of laughter coming out to sort of like sad, angry, red-faced emoji, if you were to put them on the emoji spectrum and just look at, like, do you just, from the outside, not judging, just reporting, do you look like you're enjoying what you're doing?
Yeah.
And I see a lot of students who don't look like they're enjoying what they're doing and come to us and tell us, like, look, I'm not really enjoying what I'm doing. But I also fundamentally believe in the importance and the value of education and giving time, at any point in life, to be on campus and to have time to think and meet people and find new hobbies and explore things and figure out what you like and don't like. And I sometimes wonder when it comes to the idea of having a lot of fun, whether you're drawn to it or whether it just kind of happens upon you. Have you ever seen students, particularly in the Unbound world, who've come away on a trip and weren't having fun initially, but the experience of it being so hands-on, so different, almost the novelty and variety of it? Do you ever see that be the turning point? Because I think there could be a fun idea there around re-engaging students when, if just reading Accounting 101 isn't doing it for you, well, there are all these novel different ways you could apply that in nonprofits or social enterprises or for a scooter company that could go, actually, no, I do love this degree. I just haven't found the most fun way to apply it yet, and hence I don't see the meaning in it.
Yeah.
Somewhere in that there was a question. Somewhere in there.
I'll try to extract it.
Yeah, if you could.
Look, it's a great point. And not everything's going to be fun minute by minute. Like, I did an engineering degree, and you've got to just learn how to do coding. You're sitting there in the labs and your code's not compiling and you're pulling your hair out, and it's not fun second to second, minute to minute. But this idea of finding the application, I think, is a great concept, because I worked in the not-for-profit sector for a while doing outreach education. And it's something that people respond differently. Some people like the process of doing the task, and they're less, it doesn't matter what task it's for, they're enjoying the process. And other people are different. Yes. They like the outcome and the results. So if they're helping a community, they're happy to do it through lots of different mechanisms. So finding the application. So you're right. Like, if accounting itself seems dry to you, maybe you'll love doing accounting for your local sports club, joining as a treasurer, putting your technical skills to use, because then you're being both productive in a way that other people can't, but you're helping your tennis club thrive. You're helping these young people, get to go and do some sports. So finding the use is certainly one. When it comes to Unbound, so what Unbound does is we lead study tours in some pretty fascinating places. So we'll spend a couple of weeks learning in rural Nepal, or in the crazy traffic-filled streets of Mumbai. And it's not often fun minute to minute. That there'll be days when you're sitting on an overnight train trip up to Thailand, or you're in a Nepalese village with no hot water and fluctuating power, and it's not all just, again, happiness and laughter, but the experience is the best. People always finish it and go, "That was so great." They're happy to have a hot shower and some fried food, but it's just a great learning experience, and that's an example of something which is fun after the fact.
Yes. I love that. Tim's jumping in on the comments. He'll be on the show this week. And Tim said, my favorite way to assess learning at a university level is to say, and then quote, you'll have a 20% exam at the end of the course, but then the other 80% of the assessment is up to you to figure it out. Things like editorials, speeches, creating podcasts, essays. I think that's interesting. That's a cool idea, isn't it? That's an interesting idea. And from, as you say, when there's some experiences which are challenging, undoubtedly, like getting caught in the rain, missing a flight, losing your passport, having something stolen, having something break, like failure in and of itself is not fun. But I think it's the secret in that is the learning from it. So I wonder, when you've had students come back from these trips, or even during, if they pull you aside under a rainy bus shelter, or on an overnight train when they can't sleep because 3 people are lying on their feet, how do people reflect? How do you see students reflect on this experience from their own level? Like, what do they say they get out of these experiences, which are really different to what you get in a traditional classroom?
Look, one of the things that Unbound does is that we don't just teach in lecture theatres overseas. So we're doing it in villages, we're working with schools, we're meeting with innovators. So a lot of the stuff you could do in Australia that just doesn't happen so common, that, in a standard university course, you're not necessarily meeting, let's say you're studying engineering, you're not necessarily meeting engineers. If you're studying geology, you're not necessarily out working with geologists. So part of it is just understanding what these jobs are. And this isn't an overseas thing, it's just being exposed to it. So that's been a real lesson, is people going, I get it. I understand what the role is like. I like these ones. I like these ones more. I didn't know this one was an option, and it sounds pretty sweet. So there's that kind of personal reflection piece. Look, part of it is just their role in the world, that these things which sounded so foreign, because they by definition are things that now, these are actual people, actual communities just getting through day-to-day life, and how they can draw a line between their work, their skills, and possibly working in Asia, possibly working on international projects. And what I've really found is it opens up opportunities in a real sense. I can do this.
Yes. One of the things that jumped out at me that I hadn't really spent a ton of time thinking about, even though we talk so often, was that idea that we both went from engineering and then spent some time in nonprofits. And the nonprofit, one of the things I got from the nonprofit experience in the world and just ways of working and thinking and speaking is it's so meaning-based. It's so purpose-based. Every day it's why are we doing what we're doing? I got used to telling my sort of like personal life story elevator pitch, 50 times a day. And sometimes you sort of feel like I'm rolling out the same story and the same jokes a little bit, but it just every day you're reinforcing why you're waking up and why you're coming to work, why you're doing the things you're doing, why you're on a trip, why you're working weekends, why it's late at night. And I wonder where the role is in that mix between a learning experience, enjoying something, even if it's novelty, it's just different. It's foreign, as you say, by definition. And that, I wonder if there's some secret sauce there in that showing you something that's different to your normal life, sort of like throwing you out of the holding pattern that sometimes we can find ourselves in. Like, I think COVID's a good example. It's thrown us, I wouldn't say COVID's fun. COVID is not fun. I haven't met anyone who said COVID is fun. And it's tragic in a lot of ways. It's a very real ways, but it's also thrown us all out of a holding pattern. And I think it's made us reassess things. And when people say, I'm reconnecting with friends and family, it's not necessarily through this fun experience, but it's because I've personally had to rethink about my time and how I'm going to spend it. So I wonder where that idea of novelty, something different, something foreign, taking you out of a normal pattern, having you meet real people in the real world, I wonder if there's a secret sauce there to unlock insights or meaning or...
Yeah, I think the piece where it is quite real is, look, there are some things that are universal. That as you travel the world, people love their family and want their best for their kids. People, enjoy the fulfilling act of doing work and making a contribution. And some things are totally arbitrary that have just been made up and becomes the norm that you don't need to do. The one that always comes to mind is breakfast. In our culture in Australia, often the common breakfast is a couple of slices of toast and some cereal and a big bowl of dairy. And that's just not what people eat in the world. The idea of having some noodles and a fried egg or some rice and a piece of pork is just what people kick off their day with. Or some cultures just don't have breakfast. They're a 2-meal-a-day kind of group. So when you see this stuff, you're right, that it just makes you rethink what is real and what is just a bit arbitrary that you don't have to do anymore. And that's exactly what's happened with COVID, that, people are now doing isolation things, doing things differently. And I suspect the reason that everyone got up at 8 o'clock on a Tuesday was to go and meet and touch base with their team. But, they've been able to find they can do it in 15 minutes on a Zoom call, or that they find more fulfillment from discovering their local neighborhood because, they can't get in a car and drive across town and do other things. And people are surprised that a lot of these changes are positive, some are challenging. And people, I think, are going to rethink the way they operate day to day.
Yeah. I'm wondering there if with that idea of rethinking comes a word to me of like curiosity. And I love this idea that, I used it with the TED Talk acronym and said like the C in service, if I can remember my own talk, was curiosity. And it was the idea about asking better questions. And I've never linked these two things together before. Of like, when I think of fun and play and adventure, I think curiosity. I think questions. What's different? What is similar and what is different? And you can play both sides, but it's asking questions. Podcasts, books, learning, literally having this show, asking you questions. It's fun for me because it's questions. But then education is also fundamentally about questions. And learning's always about questions. And so I wonder if maybe there could be part of that link there is questions. Is it because for me, when I've had some of the most fun, and even things, I was trying to think of a counterexample in my head of, I think of when I'm in the most pure state of fun is snowboarding. But snowboarding is very high risk, critical problem solving and question asking in a split second by split second basis. You just get to shut out everything else. So do I go left or right? Am I heel or toe? Am I forward or back? Am I in the trees, out of the trees? But it's like question, question, question. So as often when I speak to you, I don't have the answers to this, which is maybe apt, but I wonder if there's a link there. I wonder if part of it could be the question link between fun and learning. Thoughts?
This is where the internet is the most amazing thing ever created, is that you can have a question and you can just dive down this rabbit hole and explore it. This is the thing that I'm really working on at the moment. So now that I can't lead study tours and, the idea of face-to-face education is not so available, I'm doing a kind of bit of a series and putting it together on video of asking a question and then trying to explore it. So one that kind of came up was I was in Fiji and I ordered a coffee, which is quite suitable for the show. And I got given back this note in the change, and it was a $7 note. A $7 note. And firstly, I'm like, is this real money? It's bright blue and it's got, footy players on it. I'm like, is this real? And then I started to explore it. Now, the story behind it is Fiji in 2016 got the Olympic gold medal in rugby sevens. So to celebrate, they made a $7 note. But it got me thinking, like, why is every note in almost every country in the world, and I've researched it, every country uses the 1, 2, 5 sequence. $1 note, $5 note, $10 note, $20 note, $50 note. And I explored why this is. And it turns out there's some mathematics behind it that, if you use the notes in that sequence, giving change is always predictable and easy. And again, it starts very simply, $7 note, why? And then you explore it and it's all about algorithms and numbers and the way we operate.
Interesting. I love that. And for what I know about you, and even the fact that you're doing this series, is there's a lot of fun in just trying to pursue those answers to those questions. Even something as ridiculous as we were doing Wikipedia races the other night, like arbitrarily looking through information to find connections. But like, there's a fun in that, as you say, the process and the adventure of it, which is really, really cool. Okay, I like it.
And everyone loves a mystery. Everyone loves to solve a problem. So if you can start with a question with like, why does this happen? And then you find a solution. There's a little bit of your brain that says, yes, solved, I've done it. Why does a $7 note exist? That's a a gentle and very easy mystery, but great to solve.
I love that. I love it. So if people are tuning in and listening on their Monday morning, and say there's students, a large percentage of sort of audience, people who message me and say they watch the show in the morning, are students, are getting ready, they're thinking about their week or their day, which is awesome. And we're really glad that you're here. I'd love to know from you, if people are thinking, okay, I've got a week that's coming up, I've either got a lot of classes, or I've got some assignments, or I've just got some work to do, running a program, whatever it happens to be. Are there any ways that you think about, like, do you think about it like this, of like adding little bits of fun into the day or the week? Or is it would one piece of advice be, think of a project you can work on in the background? Or if people are just thinking like, I want to keep learning, I don't want just an escape, but I want to enjoy the process even more from everything you've been involved in. Do you have any tips for getting more fun out of the process, being more conscious of the fun in the process? Anything like that?
Absolutely. And I don't think you have to make a trade-off. I don't think it's like, oh, I'll let my studies not do so well this semester because I'll go and do this, this, and this.
Yeah.
I'd say the answer is all about people. So something that I wasn't the top student academically, but something I did, and I think did very well, is that I got to know my classmates really well. So when I was stuck, I would have people I could call on that, if I was struggling with a assignment or exam, we would do, group study. And these days you can do it via Zoom or do it in person when we're allowed. And it just made the process more human, made the process more fun, because while you're, doing calculations or research or design or whatever, you're doing it with people that you really enjoy. And that's the side that certainly makes it work. But the other bit of advice I'd say is find a project. I think everyone should have a creative outlet of sorts. Now that could be, doing actual art and projects. It could be writing music or performing it. Or look, as I said, the way I do creativity is making projects for the world. For me, I find building a solar tuk-tuk as a creative outlet. And I just urge people to have that project, have that thing that they actually enjoy working on, that's, got a bit of a goal, got a bit of a destination that you can chip on, if you've got 10 minutes here and there, or you could spend a long weekend and really make some progress on it.
Yes. I love it. And there's a really clear overlap there for the business world too. People starting businesses, the sort of like quote unquote side hustle thing on the side. I don't know what the social enterprise word for side hustle is. I think we need to claim that. But chipping away at a problem. And if you can see the progress, that's where that meaning's come in for me for sure, is being able to see when you get the student who messaged you, who says, hey, like, that was great. That was a good experience. Or like, oh, that actually led to an outcome. I got a really good mark. Or, I just got a job. Or that tip that made me think about this next decision I made differently. And that feedback loop of, I think when you're working on something real, whether it's people or it's solar panels, when you see the current flowing through, when you see the sort of life and energy in something, there's just such a virtuous feedback loop where you're like, okay, I'll do even more. That can be a bit static if it's just answering questions 1 through 60 in the back of a calculus book.
And the thing is that educators, and you've marked a uni assignment or two in your day, again, it's not a trade-off. Like if students approach their assignments, and not every assignment's going to lend itself to this, if it's a lab report, maybe not, but if people write with enthusiasm and share their experience and share their knowledge, it reads better. Like, it reads better. They clearly understand that they can apply it. So again, this stuff doesn't have to be a trade-off. It doesn't have to be a trade-off. Yeah,
definitely. I think it's definitely an abundance mindset, and it can show. I mean, one of the things I got in my later years of uni, just what you said then, if students are looking for something super practical, study with friends. If you want a real unlock, I don't know how to say this in the most politically correct way, study with people smarter than you. Like people who are achieving more. It was just the biggest unlock. I just found 3 or 4 people who were just achieving more. They understood it. And I then learned that actually they made it look easy, and they just put in way more work as well. But just spending time with those guys, and like it was very humbling, because I knew that I wasn't going to get, if we all got it tested at any moment, I wouldn't get the highest mark on the test. And that proved true almost throughout. But what I found at the end, we plotted all our grades. Their grades were high and got slightly higher. So I was glad I didn't bring them down. But mine like consistently went up over the years. Because I was just around them. But like I could also use that as a humble point and sort of say, like, make a joke out of the fact that like, okay, guys, like I'm going to get this question wrong. I need your help. And it was like I could play around and genuinely enjoy the process of being incorrect. Whereas when I was by myself, I'd be frustrated because it was like I was alone in it. And in that situation, I could lean on someone and they'd help me And when I wasn't, leaning on them too much, I think at times they enjoyed helping me out. But I just love that time together with those guys.
And it's worth remembering that the academics isn't the only measure. I know 100%. That's what unis overwhelmingly measure, but in life, in the world, it's not. So if you're the person who, is bringing to the table, that you're the person who is the glue, that runs the study events, that makes it happen, that, you help people out with this and they help you out with that. Maybe you're more confident at speaking. Maybe you're more social and are well connected into what kind of networking events are happening. That everyone's worthwhile. That as long as you're bringing stuff to the table, people are going to be more than happy to share their knowledge with you.
I love it. Absolutely love it. Given that we're talking about bringing stuff to the table, it is nearly 9 a.m. on a Monday morning. I know you've got a lot on, whether people are bringing their traditional Western breakfast to the table, like we spoke about earlier, or whether you're going to spice it up, you're going to have a little bit more fun, try something new with your breakfast today, or go with that. Thank you for listening in and joining us today. We really appreciate it. Always appreciate all the views and the comments and everyone who messages us after and says they watched it later in the day or later in the week. So just so you know, we do really, really appreciate you. Thank you for coming in. If you have any ideas of topics or things you'd like to see us discuss, if you want to jump on and have a chat about something, we're very open to chatting about anything. The curiosity and asking better questions is pretty core to what we do. So on that, Julian, mate, thank you for your time this morning.
A lot of fun. Thank you, Josh.
Appreciate your insights. Always flies by. If people want to connect with you, if they want to learn more about Julian O'Shea, if they want to figure out what you're doing, where's a good place for them to go?
So on LinkedIn, I am Julian O'Shea, spelt like it is below my head, and Unbound is the name of my organization. So it's at unbound.edu.au. Drop by and say good day. Always happy to chat.
Wonderful. Julian, you're a gentleman. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful Monday out there, everybody. We'll see you again tomorrow at 8 a.m. with the wonderful Josh talking about health in 2020 and how to achieve your health goals. We'll see you then. Bye all.